Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, I've had the Sony ZV-E10 for quite some time now. I've also had the Panasonic G100, but I've never looked at both of them together. I've never actually done a video comparing the two. And I'm not really a big fan of comparisons because every camera has its, benefits and its disadvantages. So, generally speaking, there isn't going to be the perfect camera. Not generally speaking, there isn't the perfect camera. But I know there's going to be a lot of people that might be looking at the G100, but also might be looking at the ZV-E10. If you can get hold of a ZV-E10, they're like gold dust because Sony have discontinued it for some bizarre reason, down to manufacturing, I would think, and certainly down to getting the chips and all this sort of silicon issues that we're having at the moment. So I suspect they're directing their energies and their resources into the higher profits and higher margin cameras. I still think though, even though there are issues with the supply chain, it is worth looking at a ZV-E10 if you can get hold of one. They're great value for money. But likewise, the Panasonic G100 is great value for money. Now, I've got the G100 here, and I've got fitted to it my Panasonic Leica f2.8 to f4 lens. And it's a great combination of this. I really like this combination. And the reason why I like this combination, a 12 to 60 on this camera is effectively a 24 to 120 in full frame terms. So it's a really compact lens. I know it doesn't look that compact on this tiny little body, but the weight is very, very good. And it's a nice, comfortable camera to carry. The grip isn't the best, but it's a really small camera. So, you forsake some of the handling because of the size of the actual camera. But, yeah, so that is the Panasonic G100 with the Panasonic Leica 12 to 60. And the reason why I've paired it with the 12 to 60, because it has in lens image stabilization. It's in the lens, where the body itself has no image stabilization in the G100. It's got electronic image stabilization for video, but nothing for stills. So that's a great combination. So that's what I've got paired with my Panasonic G100. And then on my ZV-E10, I've actually fitted a small rig cage because it's got this really, really nice grip. And that's made that so much better to use. So much better to use. And I've got today my Sigma 56mm on my ZV-E10. Now, I wouldn't normally use, if I'm going out and about, well, I wouldn't use the Sigma 56mm. I would use a lens that has image stabilization in it. One of the Sony lenses that has OSS, which is optical steady shot. Basically, it's image stabilization in the lens. Because again, the ZV-E10 has no image stabilization. That's the same as the Panasonic G100. So they're very comparable from that point of view. They're more designed really for video use than they are for photography, which is a real pity because both cameras, and I'm going to show you very quickly in just a moment, a few snaps that I've taken with both cameras, they both take really nice images. The ZV-E10 has the Sony 24 megapixel sensor in. You'll find it's the same sensor in the A6400, the 6000, a whole range of our APS-C cameras will have the same sensor in, or a very similar sensor. But it's a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. So again, you're getting lovely images and you're getting lovely video with, either of the cameras. They both have your articulating screen. So they come out, for doing your selfies and when you're filming yourself, particularly vlogging. Both cameras are sold as vlogging cameras. Now, I bought them, even though I don't do vlogging, and I bought them because they're fantastic here in the studio for doing my producing my content from a YouTube channel. As an example today, I've got my Panasonic GH6 as the main shot. That's got my DJI mic on, radio mic on top, but that's for Panasonic GH6 with the I'm not sure what lens I've got on there today actually. Yeah, I've got the Olympus 45mm f1.8 lens on the Panasonic GH6. That's the main shot. The secondary shot is my Sony ZV-1. That's another great little camera. In fact, I did a comparison between the ZV-E10 and the ZV-1. I'll leave a link up here. No, I think it's up here actually, isn't it? Up here somewhere. That's a fantastic little camera, because I know, again, there will be people wanting to compare the ZV-E10, which is this one, obviously, with the ZV-1. So I say that link will be up there somewhere. So let's get in the wide shot. And I've got another ZV-E10 over here, getting the sort of over the shoulder shot. So that's my ZV-E10 over there. And then I've got another ZV-1 over here, getting the close-up shots of the products. So you can clearly see in my studio, I'm using the ZV-1 and the ZV-E10s on a regular basis. But as I say, I've got my G8.6 as the main shot. It's in autofocus. I say that every time I use the G8.6, I want to convince people for certain applications, the autofocus works absolutely fine. And it's straight out of the box. I haven't fiddled with any of the settings. I did try fiddling and I sort of cocked it up. So I left it as it is. And it's great. It's working fine. So straight out of the box, I've got the G8.6 in its autofocus mode over there. So getting back to these cameras then, they both got the articulating screen, which is great, same as on the G100. The G100 has the articulating screen, exactly the same. One big advantage the G100 has over the ZV-E10 is a viewfinder. And here it is, the viewfinder on the G100, and that is great for photographers. Not terribly useful for videographers, although I do know there will be some videographers that will want to use the viewfinder, and certainly particularly in sunny weather you may well find the viewfinder very useful. So if you're looking for a compact camera that is great for vlogging, then, and you want a viewfinder, then the G100 is certainly well worth looking at. So that would be that. And the controls on the G100 are just that little bit more tactile than what the ZV-E10 is. And what I mean by that, on the top plate here, the G100 has got your traditional PASM dial. So you can go into your aperture priority, shutter priority, video, and what have you very quickly just by turning the dial, as you would do on vast majority of cameras. Where the ZV-E10 is menu driven, there is no PASM dial on the ZV-E10. But what I've done, which has made it easier for me, so you see there, that's in, what's that mode in now? That is in video mode at the moment. So what you do to change your modes, there's a button on the top here, which you change from video, stills and slow and quick motion. So you just push that button in. So we just do that. Where are we? Push that in. That's now in S&Q. That's now in stills, and it's in aperture priority. But because there's no mode dial on the camera, like it is on the G100, I've pre-assigned, I've remapped this function button on the top here to go to be my mode dial. So when I push that, it brings up the, if you're in photography, it brings up your shutter priority, aperture priority, manual, and what have you. So that's nice and easy. I've got no problem with that at all. Likewise, if you're in video, like we're in, let's go back in that S&Q programs, shutter. Right, we're in no, we're not. We're in S&Q. Right, we're in video mode now. Then it's on manual. But if I hit the that button in again, then I can now select whether I want aperture priority in video. I don't know why you would want that, but you can select that, or you can select manual. You can select shutter priority, you know, so on and so forth. So that's what I've done with my ZV-E10. I've just remapped one of the function buttons. So the fact there's no mode dial isn't a big issue at all. But it is nice and compact. They both have a hot shoe on the top here for an extra flash, same as on the G100. That's got you know, the hot shoe for a flash, and a really nice record button there for your video, so you can get to your video, you know, nice and easily. And this is a really common thing now that manufacturers are starting to realise. Right, they started to realise this some time ago, that video is becoming more important for these cameras than what stills is, you know, photographs are. So, you know, people buying these cameras for video as opposed to for taking photographs with, or they're calling it hybrid. I'm a hybrid shooter. I need cameras that will do both. When I go out somewhere, I want to take a camera that will take photographs and do decent videos. So we're all becoming hybrid shooters. So you've got your big record button on the top here. Now, what is great with all these cameras, both the ZV-E10 and the G100, when you're in video, so let's put that into video mode, which is there. So when you're in video mode and you start filming, let's take the lens cap off. That does help. And you start filming, you'll see I've left that. I'm going to turn that off actually. There's a countdown mode. When you're in selfie mode on the G100, there's a countdown mode to actually start it. I'm going to turn that off. When I hit the record button, I want it to start filming straight away. But there you can see a big red box around the frame. So you can clearly see that it is filming. And that is great because so many times over the many years I've been doing video production, when you're in front of a camera and you're on your own, you haven't got a film crew, you're on your own, it's so nice to be able to either see a tally light to show that the camera is recording, or a red box around the frame of the screen so you can see that you are recording. Because I have filmed in the past, when I thought I was filming, I go to edit it and find it's not on the SD card or on the memory card, whatever, because I didn't hit the record button, or I knocked it twice or whatever, So with my Panasonic GH6, as an example, it's got a red tally light on. I can clearly see that is recording. There's no guesswork. Likewise with my Sony ZV-1, red tally light, so I can see that that is actually recording. Although I'm feeding that into my Atomos recorder, and I can see that's recording. That's got a red tally light and the red frame around the screen. So, and then my ZV-E10, which we're going to go on to here, that's also got both. That's got the red tally light and the red box on the screen. So you've got both on the ZV-E10. With the G100, it has only got the red frame around the screen, but it's still great if you're doing vlogging. It's fine because you can see the red frame around the screen. And I'll show you that again on the G100, and it will do a countdown. There we go, it counted down and then it starts recording. So that is great. But as I say, on the ZV-E10, if we just pick that up, what have we done with the ZV-E10? There it is. So on the ZV-E10, if we put it into video mode, I'm not sure what it's in. Let's go. Program, shutter speed, video. Well, it's an intelligent video at the moment, which is fine. And we hit the record button on that. You get your red tally light on, as you can see. Can we see that? Yeah. You can see that just there somewhere, red tally light. And you also get the red frame around the screen. So you've got the best of both worlds there. So you've got your red tally light on there and your frame around the screen. So they both work, fine from that point of view. Another big advantage with the there's two other big advantages with the ZV-E10. Firstly, as well as an external mic jack, the G100 has an external mic jack, but the ZV-E10 also has a headphone jack, which is quite rare with cameras of this size and also cameras in this price range. So under this flap where you've got your USB port, and you've got your HDMI port. You've also got at the bottom there, you've got your headphone jack, so you can actually monitor the audio. Then at the top there, you've got your at the top, you've got your mic jack. So absolutely excellent. Yeah, very pleased with that. And it is so useful to have external mic jacks. All these cameras do have built-in microphones, but quite honestly, they're fine if you're close to the camera. If you're doing your vlogging, they're quite good. They'll be okay as long as you're not in a really noisy environment. But there's nothing better than using either a tie clip mic, or as I'm doing, I'm using my DJI radio mics, and I've got that just attached to my shirt. So because it's closer to me mouth, as it were, so you're getting a better sound quality than you would be if you're holding the camera further away. And also the mic quality in these cameras will never be as good as a what I would class as a proper microphone, you know. So it's great from that point of view. So you can see I'm really swaying towards the ZV-E10 for video because of all these extra features. Also, with a ZV-E10, which is great for me in the studio here, there is no video record limit. Provided you set in the menu the temperature setting to high, and it will give you a warning for some bizarre reason, but you set it to high, you've got no record limit on these cameras. And I've never had my ZV-E10s or my ZV-1 overheat on me. And it's great having no record limit because I do make mistakes when I'm doing this. And the nice thing is I haven't got to worry about that 30-minute record limit. I can just keep on waffling and then cut it out when I come to edit it. So a very, very useful feature where the G100 really lacks there. It's really lacking there. In 4K, you've got a 10-minute record limit in 4K, which is really, really, you know, a real shame. Again, it's fine for vlogging because you're only doing short clips anyway. And in HD, you've got a 30-minute record limit. So again, the ZV-E10 scores there because you've got no record limit in whichever mode that you use. And also with the ZV-E10, it's got power delivery via USB. So as well as being able to charge a battery via USB, which you can on the G100, you can also provide power to the ZV-E10 and leave it running. So that's great. So I've got, like, for example, my ZV-E10 over here, I know that's not going to run out of battery because the battery is not very big in here. It's the FW50 batteries, which the older APS-C cameras like the A6000 took. So they're not great. But because I've got it plugged into a USB power block, I know that isn't going to, you know, the battery's not going to run out on me. So, you know, that is awesome. So, again, I would highly recommend the ZV-E10 if you can get hold of one for video. And I would also recommend you get another grip. I've got this, as I say, small rig cage on here. It is fantastic because it gives me a much better grip on the camera and it feels lovely. It just feels really, really nice. Yeah, so that's pretty much, you know, the differences between the G100 and the ZV-E10. Now, image quality for video, pretty much the same, I think. Although the ZV-E10 has that fantastic Sony autofocus, and it has animal eye detect and face detect autofocus. The G100 doesn't. So also it's got phase detect autofocus points on the ZV-E10. The G100 is contrast detect autofocus, or Panasonic call it their depth from defocus, which isn't as reliable for video as what the ZV-E10 is. So you know, again, I find I've done a bit of vlogging with a G100, not had an issue with it. But I wouldn't want to trust it in an environment like this because I think it might pulse a bit. Well, saying that, the GH6 is doing fine. Yeah, that's worth bearing in mind though. The ZV-E10 has got phase detect autofocus, the G100 hasn't. So you can see how it's stacking up towards the ZV-E10 being the preferable camera. But as I say, the one real positive thing I have with the G100 is it's very lightweight. Shove it in my kit bag with one of my other cameras is great, and the electronic viewfinder. That for me, when I'm taking photographs, is awesome. So that's why I have the two of them, because I do prefer taking photographs with the G100. I really do. I like to, you know, bring it up to my eye and actually use it. I was going to say like a proper camera, because it is a proper camera, but, you know, use it like that than, you know, holding it out like that, trying to take a photograph like that. I know we all do that with mobile phones. So, you know, you young people out there, you know, are used to doing that. So, but I'm not. I'm used to actually holding it up against my eye. So, you know, that will score. But for video production, yeah, the ZV-E10, as it's got no record limit, it's got a headphone jack and power delivery via USB. So, you know, that is it. Both take SD cards, you know, So yeah, I think that is the, to summarise, I think if you're more into photography with a bit of video and you're not worried about the 30-minute record limit, or in fact 10-minute record limit in 4K, and that doesn't worry you because you're only getting a few clips here and there, then the G100 is well worth looking at because it's at a fantastic price. But if you're more into video with a little bit of photography, then the ZV-E10 is definitely a preferred option because of the headphone jack and the various other things that I have said. Image quality, they're both great. I know some people do criticise Micro Four Thirds, but it has the same 20 megapixel sensor as what the G9 does, the GH5. So you are going to get G9 quality images from it, and a much more compact, a smaller body. So, if we have a quick look at these images here, I've been absolutely gobsmacked how good the G100 really is. These are just some snaps that I've taken in and around the garden. They're sharp, they're really, really nice quality images. Now, what I will do, rather than you studying them here, because these are just shots taken in the garden, but they're all just really sharp, really nice images. Clarity is excellent in them. The colour, even the bokeh is, really, really nice. So, take a look at them on my Flickr page. I'll leave a link in the descriptions of my Flickr page, and there'll be links to the G100 samples as well as my ZV-E10 samples. And again, if you take a look at the ZV-E10, and we skim through some of these. Now, let's go to here. Again, they're all going to be sharp, lovely clarity, dynamic range is good because it's got an APS-C sensor, and this is a really naff day. But take a look at these images on even inside in lower light conditions. You're not going to have an issue with the ZV-E10 because you can bump up the ISO a bit. Actually quite a bit because of the APS-C sensor. You are going to get better images, I believe, with the ZV-E10 in low light conditions than you are with a G100, purely because it's a bigger sensor. That's the only reason why. Unless you can use a wider aperture lens on the G100, because it hasn't got the image stabilization. Where the other Panasonic cameras, like my GH6 and the Olympus cameras, have got fantastic 5-axis in-body image stabilization. So with that, you can reduce your shutter speed, and you actually reduce your ISO and reduce your shutter speed, and it works great because it's got that 5-axis image stabilization. But the G100, unfortunately, has no image stabilization in the body. You wouldn't be able to fit it in there, and that really compact, lightweight body. But it is in the lens, so you can reduce your shutter speed to some extent because the lens has got image stabilization. So image quality is going to be, I think, very similar between the two. So I wouldn't choose one over the other for image quality, but the viewfinder could well be a selling point for the G100 because in bright sunlight, I think you really are going to struggle seeing the image. You'd probably be able to see it to frame it, but you're not going to be able to judge the quality of the image on the back of a screen with a ZV-E10. So, a viewfinder is pretty important from that point of view. So, there we go. Now, whether I've muddied the waters even more and I've made the decision even more difficult, because I know there's going to be people looking at the ZV-1 as well, because that is priced very similar to the ZV-E10, although that would be body only with the ZV-E10. You still have to buy a lens, so it is actually a more expensive combination. But I love my ZV-1s. I mean, they're great. If you're happy with just a fixed lens, the ZV-1, the ZV-E1, no, the ZV-1 would be, a great option. So there we go. Take a look at the images on my Flickr page. And I hope you enjoy the channel. I hope you found this video useful. I enjoy making these videos. They're great fun to do. I do love playing with lots of different technologies, lots of different cameras and different brands. I'm not brand loyal, although I'm using a lot of Sony gear at the moment. I love Nikon. I've not really used Pentax a great deal, but because they're not really big into video, unfortunately. And they're DSLRs, they haven't gone over to mirrorless. I have got so used to the mirrorless way of working now that I can't really go back to DSLR, and that's why I don't use Pentax. But there we go. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos relating to video photography, audio, podcasting, so on and so forth. And hit the like button if you like this video. Cheers for now. Bye.